You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest, we have Andrea Law. She is a practicing nurse, and she is an amazing lady. We met her at the Mental Health Awareness Summit in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we had the opportunity to meet her and spend some time with her. Outstanding, amazing person, beautiful personality, beautiful aura. And let's give her a warm welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's so nice to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
It's about time.
Yes, finally.
I know. Gosh, it's so crazy trying to schedule things, for you guys and for me. It's just crazy.
Yeah. I thought we were going to have to break out the whip.
You may have had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like a year since we reached out to you to get on here.
You know what? I couldn't even believe that when you told me at the conference the night before. You're like, hey, we messaged you and you didn't respond. I was like, oh, no. I'm going to go sit down and check right now. And you guys were so right. You did. And I responded from the table. Oopsie, my bad. Let's get it figured out.
We're so forgotten. More like the redheaded stepchild.
What? No way. Oh, only in the best way possible.
Absolutely. We are doing the best we can with all of our first responders and veterans as well. And you have been an amazing, fabulous person to meet in person. So can you tell us about your life in the beginning before you became a nurse and what caused you to become a nurse?
Yeah, definitely. So early life, pretty, I don't know, for me, it seems pretty like run of the mill. Grew up with my parents, and there was initially 5 of us kids, and then my parents adopted 2 others. So we were always a full household. My dad worked in the medical industry, so I was kind of familiar with that. And actually growing up and, becoming a late teen into an early adult, they actually were really trying to get me to be a nurse. And I was like, A, oh my gosh, that's so much school. B, ew, gross, like body fluids? No, thank you. So I actually went into business and I really loved it. And I was actually working as the COO of the Better Business Bureau before I moved into kind of making the decision into being, going back to nursing school. As you can imagine, at the Better Business Bureau, we help a lot of people in kind of a different way, but I felt like something there was lacking. And just kind of decided, what can I go into where I feel like I can help a lot of people and do a lot of things, and kept kind of circling back to maybe nursing is for me. Maybe that is what I should be doing. So I went to the community college, which here is like the top performing school in a pretty large area with a really high, board pass rate and everything, kind of hard to get into. And I had already got a psychology degree, so I was kind of already like ahead of the game from, starting like, oh, let me go this route. Kind of had a lot of the prerequisites already done for that. And so they're like, oh, go take this placement test here on this Saturday and, take a couple classes. And it was like, boom, I was in kind of before I even, realized it. And absolutely loved nursing school. It was very hard, probably of the hardest things I've done in my life. But it's just been an incredibly rewarding career to be able to help people and just feel the satisfaction of, especially in wound care, progressing wounds to closure and healing them is just really satisfying for me.
So now, do you do in-home home health?
Yes, specializing in homebound patients. So these are patients that don't necessarily need to be in a facility, but they can't easily get out to go to a doctor's office or something. They call it a taxing effort to get out of the home, either related to mobility or disease processes or things like that. It's really cumbersome and really high risk for them to get out. So we go to their house. Sometimes we go to their job. We go to all kinds of different places. So I kind of like that aspect of it too, is no 2 days are the same, very different from day to day.
It's
Now
amazing.
now have you always done home health, or what did you do when you first got out of nursing school?
I have actually. I really wanted to be in the ED when I first started, and that's where I did my preceptorship for a good 6 months or so. And my preceptor was just amazing. And actually, during my preceptorship, she accepted a position to be promoted into a clinical manager role, and really just had a good experience at that hospital in the ED, and really wanted to do that. But at the time, there was things going on at home, and I foresaw that I would probably not be in that relationship for very much longer. And so I thought, going into a new role in the ED, a lot of times you're working a lot of weeks at night, or that might be your permanent shift kind of while you pay your dues and get trained and things like that. And it just didn't really seem like it would be conducive to raising two young kids, being like a newly single mom. So it just really wasn't going to work. So at the time, I had to prioritize flexibility, because I really wanted to be an active participant in their childhood, going to their sports, going to their little lunch and learn things that they have at school and all that type of stuff. So flexibility was really important, but also the ability to make a living wage independently, which a lot of people don't really know, that home health pays a lot more than most hospital positions. Even with like a night differential and critical care pay, you can really make a lot more in home health. So those two things initially kind of drew me to it.
That's amazing.
Now, I have a friend who has been a nurse for 37 years, and she actually is now in palliative care.
Yeah, Deb.
Mm.
And she really enjoys that. She actually just got a promotion, so she's kind of in a managerial role now.
Yes.
But she's been
Awesome.
doing palliative care for, gosh, I don't even know. I would say probably 10 years.
Mhm.
But she started out doing
Wow.
home health. Well, she didn't start doing home health, but she moved into palliative care because she was in home health.
From
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a lot of patients actually who are on home health and palliative care, kind of in the transition process going toward a hospice situation, but maybe there's certain criteria that they don't meet, or things that they don't want to give up to go, full onto hospice. And it's a great resources, and those nurses are amazing, and the things that they can provide to a patient in their home are life changing to those patients and their family members, the caregivers that have that burden to take care of them. So mad respect to her for that.
Yeah, she really enjoys it.
She's an amazing gal.
She is. She's
Yeah.
really,
Oh,
she's
you
my,
have to be. You
yeah,
would definitely have to be.
she's my surgery bestie. We had
Yeah.
surgery the same
Oh,
time in
oh, that's so
Mexico.
cool.
How we met, actually.
Love that.
So,
Yeah.
That's so cool.
um,
Nice to have
but
that.
I was going to ask you, so how did you, so you said you got a psychology degree, but you ended up going into business at the Better Business Bureau. So how did all that transpire?
Yeah, that's kind of an odd transition.
Right, exactly. I have always been really interested in psych, especially abnormal psych. That was actually probably my all-time favorite class in college, was abnormal psychology. And initially I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And so I got my associate's degree. And then when I was looking into like transferring over to a university while I'm working in business, slowly making those promotions and things, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive, and I'm so against, at least for myself, student loans. I have paid for all 4 degrees, just have been able to live well below my means and just scrimp and save and just pay for it kind of as I went. And I didn't want to have to get a student loan. Okay. So people don't realize that the Better Business Bureau is like a franchise that covers certain jurisdictions, and so every location will have its own, C-suite level management, and kind of operate somewhat independently. And I was the youngest COO of all of them in the United States and Canada. And I've always been just kind of like really assertive, really hardworking, really competitive. And so it was like, a big gain for me to be able to reach that level. And so I was kind of, looking what's my next move? Where can I go to? Or where can I grow? But also, where am I going to be happy? I really like to serve people, and in business, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't scratch that itch a little bit. So I thought, nursing seems like the right fit. So that psychology actually has helped me a lot in business, but a lot in nursing, because there are a lot of patients that have diagnosed or undiagnosed psychological abnormalities, and it is important to consider those aspects when it comes to managing their other medical disease processes. So
Sure.
I definitely have benefited from having that level of education coming into nursing. And I recommend that they add more about psychology, especially mental health, in pretty much all, degrees across the board in healthcare. It's just so important.
Hmm.
So how come you decided not to go back to the psychology route after made the decision?
Really financial. Yeah.
Oh,
So at the time that I was taking the classes for the associates, I want to say a 3 credit class was like $400. And then when I was going to transfer to the university, it was going to be like $2,000,
Oh,
plus you had all these tech fees, and like the student library fee and the student union fee, and like a little bit extra for all these 10 different things. And I was like, wow, is this really, what I want to do? So it was just really the financial investment, but also the time investment, because to be a psychiatrist, you got to go to medical school. So we're looking like a 10-year plan.
mhm,
And the classes get much more expensive as you go. Just,
right.
the leap from my bachelor's in nursing to my master's in nursing. For my master's, I want to say every class was like a 6-week period, and it was $3,800 every 6 weeks.
Wow.
So it would have been, because those are like 600 level classes. So it would have been, kind of on that level or even more. So it just really was the financial piece of it, and just the time commitment. It's so hard to predict where you're going to be in 10 years.
Right. Right.
you just never know.
Yeah, and so,
You never know.
were you technically like a non-trad student because you had already had like a career and then went back later?
Great question. I think if you go to like a university, you get a lot more of the like fresh out of high school, 18, 20-year-old nurses. But at the school that I went to, which is much more lucrative, it's much more harder to get into, there was a fair amount of people who it was their second or third career, they're single parents, that type of thing. So there's still that fair, but it's probably like a 50-50 to the people who are like brand new, like insane genius young people who were able to get into that program. But a lot of people who, this is their second or third career. And so that was really nice, to be able to relate to them as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Pretty awesome.
Mhm.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, what else? Yeah, or
Well, I just asked a bunch of
I
questions. Your
mean,
turn.
you asked all the important questions. I
Well,
mean,
okay. Well,
He's like, you stole them all.
yeah, she stole my gusto.
you mentioned the psychology and the mental health behind the medical field, and I know that on TikTok, Nurse Andrea Law, by the way, on TikTok, that you really are involved with first responders and mental health. Tell us about that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of funny how I've always had a high regard or respect for first responders, kind of like on par with veterans and military individuals, but not really a high level of understanding. And for somebody who has a master's in a healthcare degree, especially looking back now, it's astonishing how little they teach you about those industries kind of along the way. And there was a post that I put out, I want to say it's been, a year and a half or two ago, where I just had a call where I had some questions. And so I went to TikTok and I'm like, hey, like, kind of asked that question to them, and was shocked and overwhelmed with the positive feedback that I got of people who are just genuinely A, happy to be recognized, but B, to be given the opportunity for somebody to come on and ask the question in like a polite and respectful way and not just come on like we've seen so many times on TikTok or other social media platforms where they have already preconceived assumptions and they don't like something that EMS does and then they're like coming at them and it's just not the way to do it. So it's like if you don't understand something, just ask because I'm pretty sure that they have the answer. So then when you have all the information, then you can formulate whether you agree with it or not, or whether it's a good policy or a good practice for them to have. And so just kind of got to hear people's stories, get to know them. And then that kind of generated more questions. So I had more videos asking more about it and just getting to know the people and having a better understanding and awareness of what the challenges are, what they're doing, the history, how it's funded or not funded, the support or lack of support that the industries have. Just really, it's hard to know all of that and not be like angry and be passionate to help and support those people. So that's kind of how I got into it. And now it's just, so important for me to just whatever size platform I have, just scream from the mountains that especially to people who are ignorant to that, and so many are, the average person doesn't really know what a first responder does or what their life is like, the sacrifices that they made that make the schedule that they have, the sacrifices that their family makes. So I think it's important for people to have a better awareness of that. And then maybe they would actually support those individuals a little bit better.
Yeah, I noticed myself that there was quite a division between the medics and EMTs versus the nurses and the ER nurses. They're like the ER nurses thought that they knew what they were doing and that they didn't think that the medics were equipped to handle the situations or whatever the situation was. So there's like this miscommunication between the both of them, which we know that EMS and the paramedics are very knowledgeable and equipped to handle certain situations because that's their
Right.
job.
They're
That's what
trained
they
and
do.
specialized to handle their thing,
Right.
whereas the ER nurses necessarily aren't. Certainly not in that setting, and the scope of practice is so different. So when they're coming from a certain place of understanding, it doesn't necessarily translate over. And it's funny because when that kind of rift was totally new to me and something that I learned about from TikTok. Because when I was doing my preceptorship in the ED, they just must be doing a phenomenal job of combating that because the nurses and the paramedics just worked so well together and there was so much respect among the two. You would have never
Wow.
thought that there was that type of culture or behavior because most of the nurses, like for example, if they couldn't get an IV start, they would be like, oh no, you go to Roger, he's the goat, he's a paramedic. Like they're just like that's what they do. Or this person who's a paramedic, he's like, you just try once or twice, or if you know it's going to be really hard, go to these guys, they could do it with their eyes covered. So there was just that level of respect, which I'm so glad that I witness it that way. And I think it, kind of reaffirmed the respect that I already had for people in those industries. And they just seemed like really amazing people. They weren't like the paragod, which is something that I kind of learned about the stereotype again through TikTok. There was none of that type of, cockiness or anything like that. It was just a really good experience. So it was really interesting for me to learn and have my eyes open to some of the stereotypes, especially like related to home health, to long-term care facilities. It's been, really an interesting path to learn about all that.
Pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, and the thing with paramedics and EMS is that they're performing all these procedures in a moving vehicle.
Right.
It's it's funny that you say that because right now we talked about earlier how nurses will come onto TikTok and just be like blasting EMS from a level of ignorance that is like unmatched. But there's one right now where she's like basically saying if you are actively running a code while you're coming into the ED, you better be straddling the patient on the cot while you're coming in or get off the truck. And I was like, I
Wow.
beg your pardon. And I have been sent that video by so many people to do a reaction. So I'm kind of like formulating my response. Initially the video starts out pretty like cordial and just questioning, like, why aren't we doing this anymore? And I was like, well, anymore? Like, I don't know if I ever really witnessed that except on television, but okay, like, it's a good question. But then when she's like, if you're not doing that, get off the truck. Wow, like who are you to say what they should and shouldn't be doing? And then it's funny because the same day I see a video it is a post from an EMT who literally on his very first day, first call, like he's in the station 5 minutes, he's on a truck with two paramedics and he's the EMT. And they go out on a call where it's an OB patient. We don't know yet what the complaint is. They arrive. She's basically in active labor, so they're transporting her. They the baby, like, she starts crowning, so they're like literally delivering a baby. And
Right.
then the driver starts driving. They have this baby. Nobody's restrained. Not the mom, not the baby, not the medic in the back, not the EMT. And wouldn't you believe that the driver goes straight through an intersection, T-bones, rolls the car, and
Oh, wow.
everybody is injured. Like, they're looking for the baby. Where's the baby? The EMT's like, I couldn't even walk. Like, the level of pain that I was in, being thrown and then losing consciousness. He's like, I didn't even have a radio yet to call for help. So it's like, I think that people don't realize the safety risks that you face in EMS. And granted, one's on the far end of the spectrum and the other's on the other. But the
Right.
same concept applies. Safety is the top priority.
Yeah.
Good quality CPR is very important, yes, but it's not the top priority, because the top priority is and will always be provider safety, period.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just funny that I saw those two videos on the same day of just somebody so incredibly, out of ignorance asking, and, just coming in a way of, assumption and being, kind of condescending, asking a question like that, when you can ask a question and people will tell you the answer. And the comment section was full of people still being polite and giving informative responses about what the legitimate concerns are about that. I just don't agree that you have to come at people in a way like that. It's
Right.
so incredibly divisive, and only serves to reinforce that kind of EMSV nursing mentality, which we need to just really get rid of.
Right. I always wondered that when I was studying to be an EMT at one time, there was this thing called the golden hour. Now, the golden
Oh,
hour, is that still a thing, or is that still something that is practiced?
I'm not really familiar with that. What's the background on it?
Well, the golden hour is when you are critical and like you're tachycardic, or you're like in cardiac arrest, and you have 1 hour to basically transport the patient to point A to the hospital to get them back into rhythmia, to that point.
Before the outcomes significantly decrease. I mean,
Right.
that
Not
definitely makes
literally an
sense. I'm
hour.
sure. I'm sure with every diagnosis, there's kind of like a time frame, and certainly cardiac arrest is one of those where you want to get them to the hospital as soon as possible and provide
Yeah.
every reasonable and logical intervention that you can en route. But I think, even that being said, those interventions cannot jeopardize the safety of the staff, because that will
Right.
always be top priority. So if that means that they're not getting the most amazing CPR while they're transporting, then it does. But it seemed like, based on the responses in that post, were more towards, hey, there's been more relevant research, which has changed protocols, and now we don't work a running code en route to the hospital.
Huh.
If they're coding, we will work them as they are, where they are, as long as the scene is safe. And usually they're only coming in working a code if that happens kind of like en route. So that's the vibe that I got based on the comments. So it's more that the policies had
Uh-huh.
changed related to new evidence and new research.
Hold on 1 second. I think the mic went down.
Oh, can you
Hold,
hear us?
Can you hear me?
hold on.
Yeah, I lost you guys the video for a second. I was like, do I keep talking? I'll just keep talking.
Why is our mic muted?
I don't know. It just went out.
It's your mic or my mic?
It's ours.
So much technology we have, and it just sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys are muted. There you go.
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you
Oh,
now.
okay.
Okay.
That's weird because it's not showing my mic
Yeah,
connected.
it's like blank.
Oh, that's
But
weird.
as long as it's working.
Yeah, as long as it's working,
yeah,
we're good.
as long as we can hear each other.
Yeah. That's weird. It just like
Oh,
shut
boy.
off. It was weird.
But like I was saying, when I did the study, that was like years ago. This is like in the late 90s, early 2000s. So if we're talking
Yeah.
like 20 something years ago. So
Yeah, the technology has changed. The research, shows different things. And so it's good that they're kind of keeping up with the research, right? Like
right,
maybe at one point they would work a code as they're on the way to the hospital, but if the research shows that the outcomes are not best in doing that, obviously a pragmatic agency would be wise to change their policy to, favor the best outcomes in an environment where the staff can also be safe.
right.
So, but we don't know that unless we're working in that industry. So there's nothing wrong with calmly and rationally either A, just ask the EMT or the paramedic who's coming in not working a code the way you think that they should.
Right.
Hey, I'm just curious. Like, I feel like, we're not giving the most high quality CPR. Is there a reason you're not straddling them? I'm sure that they would give you an answer. But if you're going to come on to TikTok and ask about it, like, you don't need to come at them and be like, yeah, if you're not doing your job that I never did the way I think you should do it, you
Right.
should get off the truck. I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
What? That's a level of ignorance that, like, we just can't have.
That's kind of why I asked that question, because that would obviously lead to something like that. But things obviously changed in the medical field. Like that was like 20 something years ago. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine a lot of procedures and a lot of techniques have changed over the years. So,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
and obviously the nurses at the ER don't know exactly what the medics are going through at the time and the dangers that they're dealing with trying to get to the
Not
hospital.
one iota. Yeah.
Not saying
even the
anything bad about the
smallest.
nurses, because we love nurses.
No,
But they're unknowledgeable of what they're doing out in the field as versus what they're
so
doing
true.
inside the hospital.
Well, and I think the
Right.
same too can be said the opposite way, right? I mean,
Right.
how often do you see EMS and paramedics coming at emergency room nurses being like, you're not doing your job right? I mean, that typically is not a thing that happens. So why is it transferring the other way?
Yeah, I agree with you that I mean, granted, the algorithm is different for everybody, but I also don't usually see the EMS coming at the nurses on the same scale. And that just could be because of a lot of different things. There's more nurses than there are medics and people working in EMS. But also, I think a big part of it is there's just like this mean girl energy personality that I think brings people into the industry.
Mhm.
That same character trait isn't necessarily maybe as strong in EMS, that would maybe have somebody be inclined to go on and make a post like that.
Right.
I think that, the personality that's maybe drawn to EMS is more direct and problem solving and like, let's solve this here and now in the easiest, quickest way possible, which is like, hey, I'm just going to ask you right now in this moment, like, why you aren't doing that. And maybe that's not the way that somebody who's typically drawn to nursing is used to handling that problem.
Mhm.
there is a large amount of kind of that mean girl energy in nursing. Unfortunately, that kind of nurses eat their young
Yeah. Just gonna
mentality
say
and
that.
just thinking,
They're young.
just kind of thinking that, and there are so many amazing nurses who are like the opposite of that. And I absolutely love that. And it was my experience in all of my clinicals. You kind of knew on each floor, on each rotation, like, you don't talk to this person because they're going to make you feel like an absolute idiot and you'll probably want to quit after this shift. But there was other people who were like super smart and super intelligent, and they would just slow down their day in order to teach you something, even though it made their job harder. But because they weren't that, they didn't have that nurses eat their young kind of mentality. So
Right.
I agree with you that I'm not saying it in the reverse, kind of in the same way.
We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard. Yeah.
So I have a question. Now,
Yeah.
in your personal professional opinion, do you think that a nurse should have a prerequisite? I can spit it out. Prerequisite to being an EMT basic or an advanced before they become an ER nurse or a nurse?
For ED, I could see that. For
Mhm.
all nursing, no. And I'll tell you why. There are probably more nursing jobs that don't even do anything with the bedside
Mhm.
versus ones that do with the bedside. So to say, because the same argument's made is, should they all have to be CNAs?
Yes.
There's a lot of benefit from that, but any barrier to having somebody finish nursing school is going to create a decrease of graduates and slow down an influx of new nurses into the industry, which we're trying to replace the baby boomers. So I don't know necessarily it would be a wise requirement to have a nurse who plans on working like dermatology or case management
Sure.
to necessarily have to go through the EMT. I think, for them to go on a ride along, 100%.
Mhm.
That is so important because any kind of situation can turn critical. And I think it's
Absolutely.
important to understand the role and how they kind of work together. For ED, that I think would be super valuable. And there are so many nurses who kind of come from EMS and go into the ED, maybe as an EMT, maybe as a paramedic, or, eventually as a nurse. I think that part of that is financial, unfortunately, that maybe they're passionate about working on the truck and being a paramedic, but the growth potential is maybe not there, and especially the financial compensation is not where it needs to be.
Mhm.
So a lot of times it's really just they go that direction,
Yeah.
to make a reasonable wage,
Mhm.
which is really unfortunate. So for ED, yeah, I could definitely see the benefit of that. I have met so many amazing people who came from EMS who just have such a wide range of knowledge that really serves them and the patients in the ED. But for all nursing, I don't think that that's necessarily relevant depending on the industry that they're going
Sure,
into.
sure.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So
Fair.
great question
That's
though.
fair. That's fair. I
So,
appreciate the answer.
Yeah.
right before we hit record, we were talking about the anniversary of Graham Hoffman,
Yes.
which happens to be today, the day that we're recording,
Which
not the day the episode airs, but the
I
day
did
that
not
we're
realize
recording.
that was today.
Yeah.
I
So
just happened to put on this shirt
yeah.
for some
So
reason.
It was meant to be.
Yes.
It was meant to
so
be.
let's talk about that for just a second, since we have hit the 1 year anniversary. What was your experience when all that happened?
That was kind of new in my journey into EMS TikTok, learning about some of the challenges, especially related to safety and security of first responders. And so, what we know about Graham Hoffman is that he was running a call for a patient. He's in the back by himself with the patient on the way to the hospital. The driver's, driving. And the patient, something happened. We don't necessarily know because there's no other witnesses, no body cam as far as we know. And she ended up stabbing him. And unfortunately, he did not survive that. The sad part of it, there's a lot to it. But we come to find out that she, if I remember correctly, had just been arrested and posted bail like within a week or so previous for, I think, assaulting a police officer and on a separate occasion, I think, trying to steal his vehicle. So, like, this is like a known person who is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And when the police actually arrived on the scene that Graham Hoffman arrived on first, and it just seems like that system to identify that patient, do they really need EMS, and to make sure that that situation is safe, handing it off from law enforcement to uh, the EMS crew, failed them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
unfortunately. So it seems like there was a lot of points where the system could have saved his life and it
No.
didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The system
And
failed.
so it's just really a tragedy. And so we did a lot to, on TikTok, a lot of creators rallied trying to support the family, getting the word out there about awareness, trying to support the t-shirt sales. And they sold, gosh, I think hundreds of thousands or something, like just tons of t-shirts. They couldn't even keep up with the orders. I think it took a month to fill all those orders, but that's a great problem to have. And I think it really served as kind of like a beacon to raise awareness to what people are actually being exposed to in EMS.
Right.
Because then every situation that happened after that just blew up and had so much more coverage and more people were talking about it. And that's exactly what we need. We need people talking about it and being aware of it in order to make moves in the right direction towards safety.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would have to agree that the system has failed. The system failed my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
If you know Bill, he was my cousin. He was a 20-year veteran in National Guard, 3 deployments in Iraq, 13 years with the Sheriff's Department. He was killed in the line of duty. And it was by an individual who had been let loose in the community who had previous drug charges and weapons charges. And my cousin was in responding to a backup call for 2 other deputies who were struggling with the individual. 10 seconds after he arrived, he lost his life because of this individual. The system has failed miserably. And like with Graham Hoffman, the system failed him miserably.
Mm-hmm.
And just the implications, like we're talking a huge scale in first responders. I mean, there's system failures in every industry. But a system failure in a CPA firm
Mm-hmm.
doesn't result in someone dying and children being raised without a father. So I think that people don't realize the scale of just the impact of what is really at stake here when the system fails in an industry like EMS, in law enforcement, in fire, in the military, and how that needs to be monitored and changed so that people can be safer and they're not losing their lives. It's just such a tragedy, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Appreciate that. Both of these situations could have been avoided if things would have been taken in a different aspect. Now, the gal that had taken the life of Graham Hoffman, she should have been admitted into some kind of psychiatric hospital. Obviously, she had mental health issues. Why didn't I put her in a hospital?
Well, I mean, even before that, being released on the charges she was released on, the fact that the law enforcement didn't even search her, which I think was
That
part of
myself, which it doesn't add up.
right.
Why did they not search the suspect?
Or even identify her. I feel like
Yeah.
there should have been a way to identify her, check the system, and realize, oh, you just got out for assaulting a police officer. We're going to treat you a little bit differently.
Yeah,
Not bad, but we're going to handle you with kid gloves so that nobody gets hurt here. Not you, not us, not anybody.
we're gonna
So
handle
it's
you
like they
caution.
didn't. Right, exactly. Like, but it just seems like they didn't identify her, they didn't search her, and it's debatable whether it was really even like a medical emergency or if she even wanted this service. From what I understood and the little bit of information we got, it was like a cut on her finger. Like, how bad is this cut, and did she even want it? Like, I think somebody had called in that she was just wandering around and they were like concerned. So law shows up and they're like, oh, well, let's just, send you to the hospital. Did she even want to go?
Right.
And if she didn't want to go, why are we making her?
Right.
Like, if she's not otherwise breaking a law, it just seems like, if we're putting a mentally unstable person in a situation where they don't necessarily want to be for a reason that it doesn't really justify that level of care, of course she's going to snap.
Yeah.
So it's just multiple system failure. And so, there hasn't really been a lot of talk about what has been done to change policies to make sure that can't happen again. So hopefully on the anniversary, we'll get a little bit more coverage and kind of get like a, here's where we are now,
Right.
Type update.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get something like that.
Yeah.
Something they do in Montana, like I had a situation with my second wife. I didn't know this at the time, but she had a lot of mental health issues and she had run-ins with the law. So her and I had went up because we lived in Montana at the time, and we went up to this place in Billings. Well, it's actually outside of Billings. It was outside of Laurel, Montana. And we were up on the mountain overlooking the valley, and we were having dinner, and she started to get sick. Well, somebody had drove by and said that there was a man abusing a woman because she was throwing up and I had her hair up so she didn't get puke in her hair. So
it just looked bad.
Yeah, it didn't look good. So
no, the optics were all off.
Somebody called the sheriffs, and as we were driving down, the sheriff pulls me over and says, well, we got a call that somebody was abusing a woman, and he pulls me out of the car. And he puts me in the car, and he puts me in the back seat. He's talking to me, and I'm like explaining the situation to him. And then he runs my name and all this stuff. He goes, okay, just sit here. I'm going to go talk to her. Well, he runs her name. And this is what they do in Montana. He runs her name. And if you have psychiatric issues, all of your information comes up in bright red and it flashes. I was in the back seat and I seen it. I'm like, my
You were
God,
like,
what the hell did I get myself into?
Oh no. Wow. You saw that. Talk about a red flag, right?
Yeah, that was a red flag. And it was like right there,
late.
proceed with caution. Female subject has this, and this.
But you know
Yes,
what? Something like that could have saved Graham Hoffman. You know, if they would
exactly.
have identified that patient and it came up in bright, screaming red, flashing in their face,
Yeah,
they definitely would have done things a little bit differently. They would have searched her, they would have found anything on her, and she could have got to the hospital safely where she got the care that she needed and he
absolutely.
could go home at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's
So
probably what
I
they need
love
to
that
do
they
there.
do that.
That's what they do in Montana,
At a minimum, yeah,
at least.
definitely.
But the deputy, he kind of laughed. He seen the dinner and stuff, and he came back shaking his head, and he was like, "Just have a good day."
He's like, "You're good to go, sir."
Yeah, I
He's
don't want
like,
the problem.
or
You go ahead and take care of it.
yeah, he's like, or we could take you and arrest you and just drop you off around the corner and she won't even know. Like,
I'm surprised he didn't
oh
say
my
good
goodness.
luck with that one.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding. Well, he was really nice,
yeah,
though.
exactly. Oh wow,
He left it to
that's
be my
wild.
problem.
Yeah, of course.
That's so funny.
But that freaked me out though. I seen that. I was sitting in the back seat of his squad car, his patrol vehicle, and I seen his computer, and I seen all of the things, all the mental health issues that she had in bright red
Wow.
colors, and it said proceed with caution. And
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck? What did I get myself
You're like, I
into?
am so glad someone reported me for spousal abuse because this is how I find out.
Right.
That person did you a
They
solid.
did they did me a solid.
Yeah,
Oh
that is
gosh.
so funny. Oh my
Thankfully,
gosh.
thankfully, I got this crazy one here.
Oh,
She's great. She's
Different kind
wonderful.
of crazy.
Yeah, she's
Not violent kind of
no,
crazy.
no, yeah, you're right about that. Trust me, this one was violent.
Oh. Yeah, it's a good practice to have for, to make sure that those things aren't missed. And there's things like that in the medical industry as well. Like, for example, when there's two patients that come on service where their names are similar, it gives a certain flag. Or when there's certain medications that are a similar name, there's extra kind of checks and balances because there have been instances where patients have been giving the wrong thing because the names sound similar. So, it is effective to, there's a lot of things that we're doing working in our working memory. And so sometimes we need somebody to be like, whoa, stop, look at this, pay attention to this and nothing else for 2 seconds just to see this important information.
Right.
So it is effective. So hopefully that is something that they will implement there.
Absolutely. I think so.
mhm.
It would be good to
Yeah. I'm
have
curious
all
how
over.
many other places do that. Hopefully a lot of other places have something like that.
We might have to ask some of our guests that are in law enforcement,
Yeah.
see if they have that
Yeah.
kind of information, because that would be helpful for that to be federally mandated, because we can avoid a lot of that,
Oh yeah.
especially what happened with Graham, because that did not need to happen. It could
100%.
have been avoided.
Totally preventable.
Absolutely.
Totally preventable.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
the mental health and wellness summit that we met you at,
Yes.
are you going to the next one that they have?
Yes.
So I was like, at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they make this an annual thing. I'll definitely be at every single one.
Right.
Mhm.
And then he's like, it did so well
It
that
was
Brad's
surprising.
like, okay, we're going to do this one in May and we're going to do this one in August and we're going to do this one in October. And I was like, what? I would just love to go to all of those, but
But
to fly from Vegas to North Carolina or South Carolina, is hard for scheduling and whatnot.
Sure.
So the one in May, I'm not going to be able to make in South Carolina, but I just will always recommend for anyone to go. It was an amazing experience.
Mhm.
And I have been to a lot of conferences, whether it was in business, whether it was for nursing. I was the director of nursing for an agency here for several years. So lots of conferences. That is probably the most impactful conference I have ever been to.
Wow.
So definitely recommend that. But the one in Asheville in the end of October, definitely planning on going to that
We're
one.
going to that
yeah,
one too.
we're
Yay!
only
I'm
4
so
hours away.
excited.
Yeah, we're only 4
Yes.
hours, so it's a lot closer for us than 10.
Yeah, and for me too, what the deciding factor was the one in South Carolina is a one
Yeah.
day. And originally I was going to go to it, but then someone who's like helping in the planning end of things reached out to me and said, if it changes your travel plans, there's going to be one announced that's a 2 or 3 day later in the year. So that's really kind of what decided it for me. I'd rather go for the 2 or 3 day, make the maximum, amount, get most out of it for the
Absolutely.
travel and
That
everything.
makes
So
sense.
I will definitely see you guys there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for it.
Yeah, so are
Yeah.
we, because we're
Really
only
looking
4
forward.
hours from
Yeah.
Asheville.
And then, of course, we'll go to the one in February again if they have it in Wilmington.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool town, a lot of cool places to go to. The people at the college that they did it at were like incredibly hospitable. They had, the what do you I guess the cohort of new EMTs kind of helping with it, and they were amazing. And of course, the event was like just amazing to the students there for that. So it was just really a great experience. Met a lot of people, and it's so nice to meet the creators that you've been kind of getting to know in real life. That was
Right.
like the most surreal experience. It
Mhm.
was just amazing. And seeing how people are really how they are online. You kind of think, oh, well, this is the small piece of them that they show you. I wonder if they're like really like that. They're really like that.
Yeah.
All of them are really like
Absolutely.
that. And I just love that level of just being so genuine and just real. Like it was just a blast. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
I definitely enjoyed meeting you and Isa in
Yeah.
person, and Isaac,
Everyone,
and Jacob,
yeah.
and Dusty,
Yeah, so
and
many
everybody
people.
oh my gosh, it was so amazing.
Yeah.
And it was refreshing to meet so many great people with
Yeah, and
beautiful
who are just like
personalities.
supportive.
Yes.
Yeah, who are supportive for like no other reason but just to be supportive, positive people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the people who did presentations, they were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Dusty, like that was a really moving presentation, and I think that he's presenting in May and I think also in Asheville.
Okay.
Ooh,
But it's a great presentation, so I recommend for people to do that. Of course, paramedic Sophie, that was amazing.
yes.
Salty,
Salty paramedic.
Shade Tree, amazing. Fee, like she did an amazing one
Mhm.
about, just being more intentional about who you are and where you spend your time and your resources and being true to yourself. And every presentation I went to was incredible, which is unlike conferences I've ever been to, because I've been to a lot of nursing conferences, and with the ADHD and the conferences, and like it just seems like sometimes they just drone on and on. And this is on subjects that I like: wounds with gnarly pictures, ostomies, all the stuff that like really like can get me interested. But it's hard to keep my interest for a long period of time, and sometimes I'll have to like get up and stretch my legs or walk around or just
Sure.
surround myself, step out for a minute. But
Right.
I didn't have that issue at all.
Right.
Like they were just so captivating, and it was cool too that to know the people.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone who was presenting has an online presence, so it's like your friends giving the presentation,
Right.
so
Right.
it kind of hits a little bit different. So
Well, we were,
I'm really looking forward to it.
I told Issa that I was really grateful to her because if had it not been for her inviting us to that very first dinner, that first night
Yes, with you guys.
with you guys and with all the presenters, she actually took the initiative and was like, "Hey, I'm staying with Brianna and Rico. Do you guys mind if they come?" And they were like, "No, it's totally
Of
fine."
course.
Yeah.
And so, had it not been for that, I mean, our experience would have been completely different.
Yep.
I'm so glad that she did. And I appreciated that about that night, the very first night that we all kind of like flew in and arrived, that it wasn't like you hear about groups, especially of creators, where it's very like exclusive and you have to have a invite, and if you're not a creator, you're not invited, or you're not on
Right.
the same level. There was a lot of people there who are just people who engage with us a lot, who don't necessarily themselves have an online presence.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it was like, no, the more the merrier. In fact, there was like a random firefighter in the corner that we like adopted and brought into our group and got to know him. We were just like, no, like everybody, if you're in this restaurant at this time, like you're our friend, come
Right.
over,
Come
talk
in.
to us, joke with us. I mean, how many people did we even have there by the point that we left?
Yeah,
30?
there was.
I mean, there was a lot in the
Yeah.
picture. Just in the picture, there was a lot.
Yeah, just
of
in the picture
people.
was at least 30 people.
So I'm so glad that she invited you guys, like, that, and Issa's just so positive, and I
Yeah.
just love her energy, and she's very much about including everyone.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad that she,
Yeah.
because sometimes we got a lot going on and we don't think, oh, this person might not feel included, or this is going on, or they're going through this. And she's really, empathetic to that. And she just is like the little shepherd to bring everybody in and all together. And I absolutely love that about her.
Yeah.
She was Mary with her little lambs.
Yeah. She's like,
Yes.
come on, everybody, let's go.
Just follow me with my little staff. Let's go, little sheep. I love it.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I love meeting everybody there. It was just amazing. Just seeing the row of first responders and nurses and everybody that was involved in that was just astounding. I was just like, wow, this is amazing. I was overwhelmed.
Well, and two,
word.
we've done a few other like different things where we were vendors or exhibitors, and it was just such a different energy for us because people knew what we were there for. They understood what we were trying to do and they wanted to help and be supportive. And some of the other things that we've done, they're like, we did an event last year in October and like we talked to a lot of people, but we didn't sell anything.
They didn't grasp.
Yeah, they didn't understand really what we were doing. And they just kind of were like, oh, okay, you have a podcast. Cool. And so to be in a situation where everybody knew and understood what it was that we were trying to do, they supported the foundation, they supported the podcast. So it was just so amazing to be in an environment where people actually get it.
Yes.
Yes, the level of connection was so different. It's like people just, attendees, creators, everyone alike, literally everybody was there. There was no like sense of judgment or I don't know you. So I have, it's like all the walls came down, because we're there for mental health. We're talking about hard topics and we all know that we all go through that. So it was like the second they're coming through the door, the walls are down and it's nothing but like support and positivity and listening to people's stories and learning from them and validating them as just being perfect, just who they are, and that level of just being so genuine is just so conducive to such a better, more positive experience. The level of connection was incredible with everybody there.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was amazing. They really did an amazing job with it.
Good.
I was glad to be invited to attend that.
Yeah. And we made
someday you'll be speaking at that. Just saying.
I'm hoping so. I personally would like to speak at something like that. I mean, I'm not a first responder, so I can't really speak from that aspect. But as far as the trauma side and other sides of knowing first responders and military veterans, because, in my family, I have military veterans from World War II all the way down. So I know that aspect.
The message is very relevant. And not everybody who spoke was a first responder. I think I went to one where she was a FNP in the hospital, never had been a first responder, still a very important, relevant message and did a great presentation.
Yeah.
So, and the guy that
I don't think that necessarily...
The guy that had the service dogs, too.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
I don't think that like precludes you from speaking. Maybe we should send a message to Brad
like, hey,
through this podcast, calling Brad. Everybody tag Brad in the comments. But yeah, I think you have a really important message and important purpose that would bring a lot of value.
Well,
to any conference.
We have decided to add another project to our array of things that we're already doing.
Don't do it.
And
look at him covering his face.
Well, so I've been telling him for as long as I can remember that he should write a book
about my life,
about his life, because he's been through so much. I mean, he had so much childhood trauma that he overcame. And then, that led to some bad decisions that got him locked up for a long period of time. And so he had to learn how to be a different person.
Very different.
Right. And then grow. And so now to where he is now, where he's running a foundation and, he's got all these projects. And I'm like, you have to write a book about that because somebody else will have gone through that or maybe needs that, that can relate. And so maybe once we get the book, then you can speak about the book.
Yes. Tragedy and
absolutely. I mean, and that's one thing I've learned too about EMS is that most people come in with some level of trauma, and part of their drive to get into the industry is to help people in their state of trauma. And so I think that that message would hit so relevant among people in that industry. And also kind of being, you're a very different person, before going to jail or prison, and then in jail or prison, the culture's different, and you do have to be a whole different person to survive
Yes, you
in all
do.
those settings.
Trust
And
me.
then to come, there's a whole different rules to operate by. And then trying to come out and reintegrate. I mean, that level of like flexibility of who you are is so important, and definitely, I think, translates to the industry in a lot of different
Yeah.
ways.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you
That's
got to
great.
put on kind of the mask in order to do that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be tough.
Well, and
For sure.
so I mean, Salty, obviously he's a paramedic, but he wrote the book or a couple of books, and so now he talks about, his life based around the book that he's written and things like that. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
having that as kind of your foundation, like I have this, like this makes me legit because I wrote a book, right?
I'm legit now.
I'm
Too legit to quit.
So yeah, and
Yes.
then, having that connection to Brad and just being like, here's a copy of my book. I would love to speak at your next conference. So
Have him read it.
I don't even think it would take that. I don't even think it
no,
would
probably
necessarily
not.
take that at
But
all.
just to give him an
Yeah,
idea of this is what I'm going to be speaking on type of thing.
Yeah.
for sure.
Overcoming perseverance and all that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
setbacks.
absolutely. Well, everybody listening is going to
Right.
tag Brad Lawson of the
Yes.
Purist Provisions in the comments to recommend for Rico to speak at a conference. So Brad's going to be prepared for the emails and the tags. But yeah, no, I think that would be awesome.
I mean, initially, I was kind of lost when I was a kid. So I was trying to enlist in the military. Well, I had already been in juvenile hall. The Marines would not accept me because I had a juvenile record. So I had to
Oh,
try to enlist in the National Guard. And then the Marines would accept me after I had experience in the military, which doesn't
sure.
make sense to me. But
Yeah.
so I did that. And in the process of that, that's when I kind of self-sabotaged myself and kind of just let everything go. And my plan was to get into the military. I wanted to go in the Marines, be an MP, and probably get into law enforcement or firefighting or some kind of medical field or something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-doubt got into my head and kept telling me no because of the past traumas, and I allowed that to overtake the good and the possibilities of my future. So I just let it just kind of overrun me, and I just kind of just
Eat
let it
you
all.
up.
Yeah, I just let it go. And
And I
unfortunately,
think
it
that
just took me.
so many people in first responder industries can relate to that type of kind of imposter syndrome-esque mentality
Yeah,
where am
exactly.
I competent to do this? Like, do I
Yes,
know what I'm doing? Am I worthy of this? Or
exactly.
am I just reduced down to a cluster of mistakes or traumas that I experience? And the answer is always no.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But those were exactly the very same things and thoughts that I was thinking,
Mm-hmm.
that I was not good
Yeah.
enough, that I could not do it, which is a lie. It was a lie because
100%.
obviously I could,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't going to be
Yep.
my entire life because I had a plan, and my life was going to be in either law enforcement or I was going to be a firefighter like my dad,
Mm-hmm.
or I wanted to be a paramedic, firefighter. That was like the bottom line. So
Nice.
unfortunately, that did not work out for me.
But you know
Sometimes it
what?
doesn't.
You know what though? You're here now and you're advocating for first responders. And like I've always told you, that was meant to be your path. And,
Yeah,
that's your passion now. And that's what we're doing. And,
And you're doing a great job at it. And there's so many more amazing things to come, which you are more than qualified to do and worthy of.
I appreciate
So
that.
I'm excited to see kind of where that all takes you. And better let me know when Brad signs you to speak so I can be there.
Well, you'll be the first to know.
Okay, good.
I'm sure she'll let you know because I don't talk to
Yes,
anybody.
I can't wait to get that text message.
Yes, yes. Well, Issa's going to speak in October, I think. So
Yes,
I'm
I
excited for
believe
that.
so.
we're rooting for
Yeah,
her.
I'm
We love
so
Issa.
excited for that.
Yeah.
She's a great speaker.
Yeah. She's like, I'm doing my dissertation right now. She tells me.
Dissertation. I love it. That's so
We
awesome.
love Issa.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate you taking your time out of your day, and we know you have more appointments, so we'll let you get on to that. But thank you so much for finally coming on and talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me a guest. It was my honor.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
And have you been listening to our radio station yet?
I have the app. I hear Issa on there. I've heard a couple other people. I absolutely love it. And I love that you guys are like filling up every day with new creators with different personalities and things.
Yeah.
Definitely a huge fan and recommend that.
That's awesome.
There's something for everybody is what I love. It's
Absolutely.
not like one genre. There's something for absolutely everybody.
I might get a little unhinged and crazy, but you know, that's just who I am. I got to speak my mind and I say what I say.
Got to be true to you. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be in touch, and I'll let you know when this is going to come out and all that. So we'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
We
Be
love you and
safe.
appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.